I am Chylli from channel Chylli, also known as Try, and we are back for more depersonalization. Continuing where we left off last time, I got back caught up to where I was before. So with Mohammed, we have this option to give the worm to him, so I want to see what that does. Speaking of which, I have a peculiar insect here. Worms are not insects, just so you know. Are they? I don't think they are. Insect? You handed Mohammed the vial containing the worm. Even though the insect has been dead for a long time, a faint blue glow still flickered. I have a vague memory, but I can't recall where I saw it. How about this? Leave the vial here with me. I'll look up information about it. If you find more of these insects, you can bring them here. On the bookshelf, there's a group photo of the police officers, and the photo traces in the center looking very young. On the shelf below, there are some books on criminal law and some files thrown in a disorderly manner. In the small box at the bottom, there are some parts which might be useful to you. Why am I on duty again today? What a pain. Detective, Delegate Triss is waiting for you in the office, to the right behind the door. The taped label says Delegate's office, and, well, the handwriting isn't very nice. As for the place where the plaque should be, there are screw hole marks. It seems the plaque fell off and wasn't repaired in time, so the label was temporarily taped on. Detective, sorry, the file room requires the delegate's authorization. Please stop. On the organized table, there are only some stacked books, all professional books, which might be used to help sleep. But in all the books, there are neat notes. I went in here to look for something. What was I looking for? Oh right, we were gonna move the ammo around. maps of the city's roads marked in red and green, but they don't seem to have any deep meaning. Detective, take a look. Chris placed a pile of documents on the table and handed them to you. Visual green, 31 male. Primary cause of death, mechanical asphyxia. Appearance description. According to the autopsy, there are obvious strangulation marks on the victim's throat. Purple in color, presumably the primary cause of death. Sorry, my throat's a little sore right now. I had to take a drink. Presumably the cause of death. The victim's chest was opened with a sharp object for bleeding, and the abdominal organs were completely removed. 3 teeth are missing from the victim's mouth: the upper central incisor, the lower right lateral tooth, and the lower right central incisor. The victim's mouth was cut with a sharp object along the corners, with a gash of approximately 10 centimeters, resulting in a smiling expression due to rigor mortis. Discovery location, southeast of the city, approximately 3.6 kilometers from the hospital. The discovery location is not the primary crime scene. No evidence related to the suspect was found. September 30th, victim Renata Nash, age 22, female. Primary cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head. Appearance description. According to the autopsy, there is an 8-centimeter fissure in the victim's skull, with a force applied from top to bottom. The fissure has a branch-like shape. The victim's chest was opened with a sharp object for bleeding, and the abdominal organs were completely removed. The victim's mouth was cut with a sharp object along the corners with a gash of approximately 12 centimeters, resulting in a smiling expression due to rigor mortis. Discovery location, dumpster behind store number 204 on the city's main street. The discovery location is not the primary crime scene. It was discovered during a storm. No evidence related to the suspect was found. October 23rd. There are a total of 5 bodies here, without exception, all from the chest open from bleeding. Organs completely removed. The mouth was cut at the corners, resulting in smiling expression due to rigor mortis. And then, looks like an old file. Pretty much. In recent months, bodies have been found sporadically. To maintain public order, we haven't released all the details, especially the terrible state of the victims' bodies. Understandable. So you called me because you found a new body? Chris nodded. This time, the body was found less than 100 meters behind the city hospital, in the medical waste container, and the time of discovery was early this morning. At the same time, the police were mobilized for the church. Exactly. Looking on the bright side, we can perform the autopsy immediately. On the negative side, the hospital has a lot of people, and the news spread as soon as the body was discovered. The pressure on the police has increased dramatically. So the body is in the hospital's morgue now. We took a huge detour. And I still had to come to the police station. I admit we took a detour, but I thought you should see the previous files. I wouldn't dare take the files out of the police station. Chris adjusted his uniform and prepared to leave. So I'll wait for you at the city hospital. Although it's very unethical to snoop in other people's email, the flashing envelope on the computer made you unconsciously move the mouse. But there was nothing interesting there. The contents of the letter was a description of the body this time, including the state of the deceased, the location of the discovery, the preliminary deduction, the notification of the family, and the connection to a previous disappearance case. Not only Tris, but the subordinate police officers are also very diligent in their work. Alrighty, I think that was about all we could do in here. Do you want to find the killer? You approached the young man and directly stated your suspicion based on his identity. The young man looked you up and down several times. He was silent for a long time. Are you a cop? You looked at the young man in front of you, neither denying nor confirming. I wanted to see my mother again, but they said I can't. The case has already been handed over to the coroner. The next time will only be at the crematorium. Please, I want to see her again. My condolences, but I don't have the authority to take you to the morgue. Besides, you wouldn't want to see your mother as she is now. The young man gritted his teeth hard and wiped the tears away from his face with his sleeve. What did you say at the beginning? You asked me if I wanted to find the killer. Okay, I'll answer. I really want to. I don't care who you are. I saw you entering the hospital with the police. I believe you have the ability. I really want to find the killer. I want to cut him into 1,000 pieces. So I need your help. My name is Stolik. You can call me Lake. How can I help you? Tell me everything you know. Lake nodded. About a week, more precisely 8 days ago, my mother came to the city hospital for a consultation for a surgery. She had a small tumor, benign. It was supposed to be a simple surgery. The doctor who scheduled her was a famous surgeon from here, but that day I had an appointment and I didn't accompany her. It was only when the doctor who scheduled the surgery called me that I knew my mother never arrived at the hospital. She disappeared. The security cameras didn't see her anywhere, as if she had evaporated. I searched everywhere. I looked for the police, I looked for my friends, I looked for every person I knew, but I had no news. Until today, when I suddenly received a call from the police. They found my mother in the trash container near the back wall of the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, she was already cold in the morgue. Right, I understand the situation. My condolences. Have you been to the preliminary crime scene? Lake shook his head. No. Come on, I'll try to take you to the crime scene to take a look. Apologies, I'm just going to have to take a drink every so often because my throat really hurts right now. Even in the trash, there are still some things that can be used. Hey kids, step away from the police tape. You approached and soon the officer recognized your identity. Sorry, this is a relative of the victim. Let him take a look, maybe he'll find something. What? Want a cigarette? Don't worry, if Driss asks, I'll say I needed to do this for the investigation. Alright, try not to alter the scene, although the police tape will be taken down today anyway. The officer removed the police tape and rolled it up. He signaled that you could look at will. Did you find anything? Lake leaned over the edge of the trash container, not caring about the dirt, and said after a long silence, No, nothing. The police didn't find any clues, so I, an ordinary person, much less. Lee stood up and retreated to your side. You already knew it would be like this, didn't you? You were silent for a moment without denying. Finding a suspect in a case without clues is a challenge in itself. But if the clues don't appear on their own, we have to look for them. That's why I needed your help. Go ahead. Although this is an internal police station information and usually cannot be disclosed anyway. Your mother's killer is not a first-time offender, but his method is very audacious. The method certainly would not take place in a busy place, and transporting the body and selecting the victim is also a big job. This will inevitably reveal some suspicious situations. I can't be away myself, and my identity is not so free, so the tracking task is up to you and your friends. I understand. If I find out anything, I'll contact you. Lake exchanged contact information with you and then went toward the hospital door. Citizen, please, this area is temporarily cordoned off. Do not approach. But soon the officer recognized you and quickly changed his tone. Oh, detective, please, feel free. Can you tell me about the situation? Yes, today at 3:30 a.m., the police station's on-duty phone rang. At the time, the main force of the police station was at the church, so there was only me and 2 other colleagues on duty. The caller was a woman. She identified herself and said she found a female body in the trash near the hospital's back wall. That is here. The body was open and in an advanced state of decomposition. When we arrived at the scene, we immediately contacted the hospital's on-duty doctor, cordoned off the area, and collected clues. Then we transferred the body to the morgue. Did you find any clues? No, to be precise, the body in the trash had marks of transport. It was in an advanced state of decomposition, and the method of the crime was similar to the previous serial killer. Other than that, there is no direct evidence that gives us a direction to investigate. The luminol test on the trash was positive, but considering this is a hospital waste disposal point, it doesn't seem very reliable. Inside the trash, there was also a bit of cadaveric fluid, probably from the body's decomposition. It is assumed that the time between the body being transported to the trash and the police's arrival did not exceed 3 hours. A very vague case. I don't know, I feel like now is a very decent time to use it. Detective, you're a bit late. After all, someone made me take a huge detour to get back to the hospital. Forget it, let's get to the point. As soon as you entered the morgue, the cold, damp air made you shiver. A smell of death was particularly evident in the place. Accompanied by a faint smell of blood, it really didn't make you want to stay here. To save space and for the preservation of bodies, most are kept in morgue drawers. Each drawer holds everything a person left behind after death. Oh, this is Sekhmet's body. You lifted a corner slightly and Sekhmet was lying on the bed lifeless. There were 3 bullet holes in his forehead and chest, the dried blood still on his skin. Detective, don't look. It wasn't your fault. Sekhmet made a mistake. He would inevitably have this end. Officer Triss, bringing a rookie. No, an old friend. This time I invited him to solve a case. That way, if we solve the case earlier, hold door, your work this year decreases a bit. Officer, your jokes are getting worse. I'm even feeling a bit cold. Enough. Now it's time to work. If you keep joking, I'll call Violet to take over. That way, she'll cut your attendance bonus. The coroner lifted the white sheet, revealing a woman's body. Old Thor skillfully began the autopsy while making the preliminary report on the body. Normally, in my autopsy classes, there would be about 100 interns on the side, and about 7 or 8 science students watching. Even to write the report, there would be a fight. Today, teaching you, a new officer, you got lucky. Enough. Stop bragging. Be serious. Look, the main livor mortis on the back, below the neck, and when we found the body in the hospital trash, she was curled up. Also, the rigor mortis has already disappeared, and the eyeballs show sign of slight decomposition. This means the victim was definitely not killed in the hospital. The discovery site is, at the very least, a secondary location. And the time of death was more than 3 days ago, maybe more. Also, the cause of death was a sharp object wound to the carotid artery. The cut on the neck is deep and has obvious signs of struggle. The cuts are varying lengths. Old Thors lightly lifted the skin on the body's neck with a scalpel. Beside the deepest cut, there were many fine scratches. If the victim had died from evisceration, there wouldn't be so many scratches here. Also, the victim's mouth was cut with a sharp object. And adding to the cut on the abdomen, from the marks to the cut, it wasn't an exceptionally sharp instrument like a scalpel. It It was probably a kitchen knife, fruit knife, or something like that. The killer, after killing the victim, removed the internal organs and the body was clearly bled. The wounds on the abdomen and neck were washed and the remaining blood was practically all cleaned. Old Thor put down the scalpel and looked at you and Triss. Finally, he threw her in our hospital trash. Any ideas? You look at Triss and at the same time notice his gaze was also on you. You both seem to be waiting for each other's answer. If the officer is waiting for me to use my ability, then he will be disappointed. The body has been dead for a long time, and it's not the first crime scene. I can't track the killer. But the killer acted to satisfy some need. What do you mean? Look, every time the killer kills someone, he cuts the body's lips, opens the abdomen, and removes the internal organs. Why? Organ trafficking? It's a possibility, but why cut the mouth, and why leave the body for several days until it starts to decompose a bit and then throw it away? Wouldn't it be better to bury it in a hole? So, a guess of mine is some religious ritual needs organs or bodies in this form as offerings. After all, if the killer was just killing for pleasure, it wouldn't fit the profile of a rational person. A very interesting deduction. The police can investigate the city's religious, or maybe start looking in places where a body could be hidden. So that's it, end of shift. Alright. Old Thor became a chief. His time became more precious. It's precisely because I became a chief physician that I can rest. Not everyone is like you, who can, with a high position, still run on the front line. Let's go, this morgue has cooled air. Detective, was my previous explanation not complete? Is there still something that isn't clear? Respecting the dead is a good virtue. Besides, you don't have professional training in forensic medicine, so it's better not to touch. The hospital will actively search for the deceased relatives and arrange for the burial. You can rest assured about that. Okay. Seems that's about everything we can do in there. Alright, I think that's about everything we can do in here for now. I want to try to use my watch in a couple places to see if I can find any secrets here. Accompanying Triss, the sky gradually darkened. It was almost night. Maybe it was time to go home. Alright, I don't think I can do anything right now. Okay, my game is frozen right now. Or no, it wasn't frozen, the music just cut out for some reason. Miss Violet doesn't seem to be here. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder where she could be. Thanks to both of you. You're welcome. It was a pleasure to help. Violet seemed to notice that you just returned to the police station. She waved at you, greeted you, and left through the police station door. Why did Violet come to the police station? She came to get the files on Sekhmet and the dismembered victim. She also left a request form, all within the rules. Alrighty, that's interesting. I wonder if she will ask some new dialogue now. Did she go to the hospital's file room? That would make sense. Let's go check there. Seems there is nothing I can really do in here. I'm going to check the back wall one more time just in case. Alrighty, now I think we're ready to go on to the next section of the game. He started the car and drove home. To get home from the city center, you had to take a rather isolated side road. This stretch of road in the forest wasn't difficult to drive, but at night it seemed silent and gloomy. You were driving the car with one hand on the steering wheel, recalling everything that had happened in the last 2 days. Suddenly, you felt that everything was too unreal. The bloody crime scene, the bizarre dream, and the strange criminal. Coupled with a continuous series of murders, the victims' bodies uniquely cut and processed, and even a life was lost at your hands. Remembering now, what a coincidence. So many coincidences. Even in dreams, there were coincidences. 3 o'clock, whether 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, it seemed like something big is about to happen. What's the meaning of this? What that Professor Carl from the dream said. Reality and dreams seem to correspond to the current situation. Forget it, I can't understand it. Maybe it's too much stress or really PTSD. Worn hood, deployed airbag, splattered blood. Before being completely enveloped by the airbag, you seem to see the person in front of the car smiling. However, these pathological and personality models, based on the theory of psychosexual development, have not been scientifically confirmed and are not used in empirical and clinical psychology. Similarly, the concept of fixation, as it is generally just a note on this theory, has also been limited to traditional psychoanalytic theory. Anan, Anan, Anan. Professor Carl, where am I? This is my office. You got distracted. Sorry, Professor Carl. What time is it? It's now 2:45 p.m., Anan. Do you have amnesia again? I think so. I feel like I just had a dream. Anan, your condition seems a bit serious. No, it's nothing serious. Let's continue, Professor Carl. You mentioned the theory of Chuanchi's butterfly dream, but I still don't understand the meaning of the story. What's Chuanchi's butterfly dream? Weren't we discussing the concept and feasibility of fixation in psychoanalysis? The last time we discussed Jai Drumutong was a week ago. Carl frowned hard, the wrinkles on his forehead twisted like a rope. So you've forgotten everything that happened this week. I have no memory. That day, after we discussed Dai Drumutong, you left. Before you left, I asked you to look up other scholars' comments on Freud's theory. Amy told me that during this week, you were seen in the library almost every day. So do you remember anything? No. This is serious. Temporary amnesia with no apparent cause. Rest well these days. Don't overexert yourself. Set your studies aside for a while. Have you been to the hospital? Yes, I went before. They didn't find the cause. Palpitations, cold sweats, and memory confusion, and now amnesia. The hospital just gave me some medicine. Rest well. Oh, and remember to return the book you brought to the library. Oh, I noticed a book that seemed a bit out of place there. Why give it to me if it has no special effect? That is really weird. On the bulletin board, there's a notice. The weather may change recently, and the phenomenon of lightning in a clear sky may occur frequently. Citizens, please be careful when going out in stormy weather. Meteorology enthusiasts may be able to photograph purple lightning, but please be careful. On the bulletin board, there's a news item. A tomb on the outskirts of the city was robbed. The body was exhumed, and people discovered that the deceased's body had disappeared, but the burial goods were intact. The police claim they will solve the case soon. A rusty phone booth. No one has used it in a long time. It is unknown who left a bag of money here. A bunch of four-leaf clovers slowly bloom. Okay, so I consume a bottle of water to do that each time. That makes sense to me. Strange, where did Amy go? You guys don't understand, listen to me. First, let's do a few little things, collaborate a little, right? Small collaborations lead to big deals. This won't work. I can see from a mile away that he's a lost cause. Listen to me, this can't wait. You have to consider the real situation, not just your own point of view. How about this? Amy, I came to return the book I borrowed last time. Oh, okay, you can leave it. Anan. What's wrong? Friend, give me the book, I'll put it away. Okay, thanks. So, Anan, the library is going to be cleaned up soon. Could you help us? So you were discussing the division of tasks? No problem. Good. Great. Good too. So, Sophia tidies the 2 rooms of shelves near the left wall. Lanty takes care of the ones on the right, and Blair handles the middle part. Anan and I will clean the trash from the floor. I agree. Okay. Right-hand shelves, right? I'll check the books. You can gather the scattered objects around the library. I'll do a simple sweep first and then mop the floor. Can you take a look at this? Sophia took the small object from your hand and carefully examined the extremely ugly statue. Interesting, it seems to be a few years old. Is it authentic? I think so. After all, I helped the seller. He wouldn't sell me a fake. It really has a lot of value as a reference. Wait a bit. Sophia placed it on the wooden chair and took detailed photos of the ugly statue with her cell phone. Very good. Then Sophia returned the statue to your hand along with a small insignia as an extra. Wasn't it very helpful? I just need a reference. I have no interest in collecting antiques. But you didn't forget about this after a week. I had to give you some reward. You looked at the small insignia in your hand. The design on it looked a bit like the statue's face. Can you tell me its origin? I bought it at an antique market a while ago. When I picked it up, it was still full of dried sea mud. The seller was an old fisherman. He didn't seem like an experienced antique collector. I used this insignia as a reference for my manuscript, then took it for evaluation. It's bronze, not worth much. Okay, this is... I have a lot of garbage on me. I'm going to transfer all of my luck items and healing items over to Luca. Alright, I think that cleaned up enough inventory space that I feel comfortable going on now. And you even had an unexpected find. Amy, I finished sweeping everything. Okay, Nan. What's wrong, Amy? You seem very nervous. Do you need to go to the infirmary? No, Nan, this gift is for you as a thank you for helping with the cleaning. Thank you, Amy. Nan, next weekend there's going to be a Violet exhibition. Would you find some time to go with me? Well, it would be an honor. Ray, thank you, Nan. Can you hold out your hand? Amy took a purple flower from her bag and placed it on your palm. Through the stem of the purple flower, you could still feel the warmth of Amy's hand. Did you know, Nan, the violet, its meaning is... going up the river from the dream finally ends. From the dream finally awakens. Sorry, geez. You struggle to get up from the ground, the violent impact echoing in your mind. The force of the airbag has slightly fractured your ribs, and the terrible recoil left your leg without sensation. Detective, don't push yourself. You felt a pair of hands under your arms helping you up. No obvious external injuries. The glass fragments were almost all blocked by the airbag. The main injuries are concentrated in the leg due to instantaneous pressure and poor blood circulation from maintaining the same position for so long. In this situation, standing up to restore blood circulation to the leg is the best choice. Detective, can you stand firmly? You spat out saliva mixed with blood, the taste of blood in your mouth making you a little uncomfortable. I'm fine, thank you. You don't need to hold me anymore, I can stand. The arms that were supporting you were slowly lowered, as if to confirm if your body could really stand on its own. You guys, delicate, doctor, how did you get here? Half an hour ago, a nearby resident reported a loud collision noise on the road. They came here and saw the person hid in the vehicle. He told the car's license plate to the officer on duty, and when they realized it was your plate, they called me. And they called me too. Although the case is pretty obvious, we still need to investigate the scene. Detective, sit down and rest a bit. Okay, but I have a question. Go ahead. Chris, Violet, tell me. What is my name? What? Tell me, what is my name? Detective, did you hit your head? Perhaps already expecting this reaction, you, on the contrary, let out a long sigh of relief. I remember that we're old friends, right, Delegate? We've worked together for many years. Why can't you answer such a simple question? I just want to hear a precise answer. Chris stopped for a moment, looking at Violet with a plea for help, but Violet just shrugged. I suddenly can't remember, Detective. Don't call me Detective, don't I have a name? It was rude of me all this time not to have asked you a name to address you. So, how about we get to know each other again? I'm Violet, Associate Director of the Central Hospital's Psychiatry Department. Violet extended her hand as if for a first meeting. At the same time, she hoped you would say your name. But I don't remember my name either. I remember you're Violet, I remember he's Triss, but I've completely forgotten what my name is. He smiled slightly. So, Miss Associate Director of the Psychiatry, can you tell me if I'm in a dream right now? After all, in a dream, no one remembers details like my name. Seeing the long silence from the two, you felt a wave of relaxation. Great, this is really a dream. Meaning now I'm a detective, and if I do my detective work, I can still return to reality. After a long silence, Triss finally patted your shoulder. No, Detective, this is reality. As for your name, I think at least the police station's file should have it. Wait until tomorrow. I will definitely give you an answer. Instead of thinking you're in a dream, I'm more inclined toward the Mandela effect. That is, a collective false memory, or a collective forgetting. At least for now, let's continue to call you Detective. Great, Delegate Triss. Not far from the bush on the fence, there was a bit of dried but still fresh blood. On some rusty wires, there was some skin fragments. Did the victim trip on the fence before getting hit? That's why you left skin and blood? Lately, it hasn't been peaceful at all. 2 victims in one day. I know, one was disemboweled and now this one had their brain smashed. When I first saw it, I felt like throwing up. How do you think the case will be classified? Accident? How many years will our detective get? With the relationship he has with the delegate, maybe he'll pay compensation to the victim's family, maybe a few weeks off and come back. Besides, the car's camera shows that the victim jumped in front and was hit by the car. The detective did nothing wrong. He braked before impact, the speed was within the limit, it's hard to find a fault. The most likely outcome is compensation for humanitarian reasons. Hey detective, rest a little bit. I'm idle anyway, better to help you guys solve this quickly so I can get back to sleep. Even if it's in the police station's interrogation room. We've been friends for so many years, so I won't hide anything from you if I find something. Besides, I remember that in the last incident before the accident, I think I saw the victim smiling. Maybe it has something to do with the previous cases. Chris was silent for a moment, but eventually agreed to your request. The state of the body is pretty terrible. I suggest you prepare yourself psychologically before taking a look. The windshield is broken, with pieces of glass scattered, and the front of the car is stained with blood. I got distracted again. The front of the car has an obvious dent, as if something hard had hit the hood and dented it severely. You stood up, and by chance you noticed on a dry tree next to the car there's also a dent. In the end, I still hit the tree with the car. Four-leaf clover, how ironic. When you were about to leave, something in the grass seemed to reflect the light from the post. He searched the grass again, and inside a knife rested silently. Okay, well that's concerning. Alrighty, well, that is actually where I'm going to end today's video. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Until then, bye!